Hello, it's me, Annalisa from My Spiritual Friend. I'll wait for a few people to come on. I usually put on a post that says I'm going to go live. I just didn't have time. I've been running around like a crazy horse. It's November 1st, 2019. Happy Halloween, post-Halloween. Happy Samhain for any of you that celebrate. Today is November 1st. I wanted to tell you a little bit about Samhain. If you see it, it's spelled like Samhein. And happy Halloween. Hi, Rosewater. So Samhain is a pagan tradition, and a lot of the pagan traditions were sort of folded into the Christian traditions. And because Halloween is actually a Christian holiday, believe it or not, or connected to Christianity. But I thought this was really interesting. So it's to celebrate the movement from the fall harvest into the dark season. And the apple is the symbol of life, and the symbol of Samhain. So it's the symbol of life and immortality. And in Celtic traditions, apples were buried at Samhain as food for the souls who are waiting to be reborn. And the apple cut crosswise reveals the five-pointed star or pentacle at its core, a symbol of goddess. And this is from... what website is this? Because I want to give credit. Goddess and Green Man, UK. It's a UK website, the Goddess and the Green Man. And I thought that was really cool because it's one of those things that, celebrates life and the coming of life and all of that. So happy Samhain. And they always say the veil is the thinnest and Samhain it begins at the eve of Halloween in the evening. So and it ends on November 1st in the evening. So the veil is the thinnest, as they say, although October is always a pretty busy month. As my oldest one says, she doesn't like it as much because she has more nightmares and sees more creepy things. But I'm not sure if that's connected to just all of the stuff. Hello, everybody. So I just wanted to create today, as like we did a couple weeks ago, where we just have a spiritual conversation, or you can share your own psychic experiences, look for feedback on what you experience, or developing your own intuition, any blocks you may feel like you're having, if you're looking for some tips or tricks to kind of help you get past those. Hello, Rathka. Hi, Nora. So, I said I read North England or something, or New England. Sorry, Nora. So if anybody wants to share, I can say I've had some pretty strange experiences lately. I don't know if anybody's knows about the Mandela effect. There's a movie set to be released. I'm good. I'm tired. I'm worn out. I have a little bit of a cold, I think. Thank you for asking. Okay, so the Mandela effect is the reason why they call it Mandela is like Nelson Mandela. So some people believe Nelson, or remember Nelson Mandela passing away, I think in the 80s, and then others just know of him happening whenever he just most recently passed away. I hate to say it that way. So it's having memories of occurrences and of things happening differently. So there's all kinds of things. If you Google it, Mandela effect, Mandela. Or it's like you remember it being Berenstain Bears, Stein, written, and then other people remember it being the Berenstain Bears, or it's totally different now. Some people say it's even continents slightly shifted over. There's all kinds of things, but I had an experience recently, and I'm trying to figure out, because there's a movie coming out. I can't remember her name. Emilia Clarke, I think is her name. She's from Game of Thrones. And it's called Last Christmas. And it's coming out to theaters. It's directed by Paul Feig, and written by... Oh, she's an actress and she's lovely. She's British. Hi, everybody. And so it's set to be released November 8th in the theaters. I kid you not. I can swear up and down, left, right, back, forward, every way. I watched this on Netflix last Christmas time, on my couch. And I was like, well, it's just going to be like another one of those like Hallmarky, type movies. I swear to God, I've watched it. And so when it came out, I was like, oh, I guess they're replaying it and already pushing it. That's strange. And then I started looking, I'm like, oh, it's set to release. I can't quite figure this out. So that's one of my most recent, I'm not sure I understand it moments. We shall see. It's a good movie. If anybody wants to go see it, I liked it. It's like a cute, love story. So I'll go ahead and plug it for them. There's no surprises or anything. It kind of follows the same genre. But does anybody have any questions or anything they want to know about, share? I mean, I'm sure I could find things to babble about. I was going to show you my little headgear. I was an alien yesterday dressed up. My husband was one of those waiting. My husband was dressed up as an abducted alien. So I dressed up as an alien, and my oldest daughter dressed up as an alien. No, I'm not doing readings today. This is just a spiritual discussion. So I'm sort of waiting for people to chime in. Okay. Rosewater wants to see how to see your guides or hear them. So first of all, hearing is would you say that clairaudience is your strongest connection to spirit? Because if you're building your abilities, you sort of need to know where your strength is. So yes, it is. Okay. So know that you're not going to always know that it's your spirit guide. If it's just a comforting energy around you and it feels very familiar, that is your spirit guide. You can set the rules for them. That's it right there. So that's perfect. So if you acknowledge it, so she said, I have heard my name several times and hear things every now and then. So I actually feel like that's a grandmother figure. Is your knee feeling okay? Your left knee? Sorry, sometimes things come through just in regular conversation. So I told you that before. Okay, sorry. Apparently your energy marks that way. So acknowledgement is the hugest part of just saying hello back. And you can set in your mind, okay, now I know that when I get this feeling beforehand, and start paying attention to your physical feelings too. What's your question? What's that question mark mean? Music for the vibe. So start paying attention to other things that are going on right before, like think back right before you heard that hello. All right, how did I feel? What was I doing? How was I interacting? Because that sort of starts to build your language. And it sort of starts to build, because you are building a language. You're building a whole new language, and it's just specific to you. So if someone says, oh, this always means this, well, if you decide that's the definition of that. So like some people say, whenever you see a feather, it means an angel is around. Now you have a word, right? Feather means this, equals this definition. So that's part of your language you're setting up, but you don't have to follow that. So for me, when I see, trying to think of something. I can't think of anything off my head that's just specific to mine. I can think of one. So when I go through energetically, right? So this isn't clairaudience per se, but when I feel like if I'm doing an energetic reading and I'm connecting into you, when I start to feel things spreading or moving these areas of chakras, I know that those are areas are opening up for you. When I feel the energy coming through the arms, and I see when they show me like rainbows coming through the hands and arms of the energy moving down, I know that person is a healer. And they'll do different things to show me healing versus creativity versus this and that. Those are specific to my own language that I have built. It takes time, right? The more vocabulary you have, the longer it takes. Just think of a child learning how to speak. It takes time to get there. And just like when you're doing that energetically, you're kind of building those languages. Okay, so back to your question was, how do I get to know that I'm connecting more with my spirit guides? Acknowledgement's the hugest thing. If somebody knocks on your door and you don't answer and you keep not answering, they're going to go away eventually. But if you start answering the door and saying hello, you can start building that conversation. So you want to pay attention to how it feels before they come, because they'll start to let you know before they're coming, or before they're starting to communicate. And then you acknowledge it, and then just kind of sit quiet and see, and ask questions. Because I found that I never learned to ask questions. And so like nothing was being said. I would say, oh, what do you want? Or is there something I can help you with? Or do I need to know something in this moment? And I might get a picture in my head, or you might hear more. I suspect they're going to come through in different ways, not just clairaudience, but that's just to get you to open the door. That's the doorbell for you in essence. And then you can always do, I do have a meditation I'm thinking about, I'm going to create, which is connecting with your spirit guides and or loved ones. So it doesn't have to be just a spirit guide, because I think it doesn't need to be that separated. I'm going to see the question. I was just still talking and I wanted to finish my thought. Yes. And so Rafka said, could we talk about cord cutting and old patterns that repeat with new people? I'm thinking about that a lot these days. Hang on. Music for the Vibe. Yes, I swear like crazy. I've seen that movie before. I was talking about the Mandela effect. So if you kind of like look that up, or you can watch this back. I was just talking about how I swear that I've seen that movie, only it's now just being released. So there's that. Okay. So let's talk about when I usually have pain in my left knee afterwards. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you for the confirmation, Rose. So, Rafka, so let's talk about cord cutting, right? So what are cords? And so I found this interesting because I didn't grow up in a Judeo or Jewish home. I was baptized Catholic, sort of raised in the whole Christian, whatever, not raised really. We went to church till I was like 6, and then sporadically after that. And I sort of went through different Christian sects to figure out what I believe, not sects, to figure out what I believed, and studied a little bit of Buddhism in college and went to temple and did some other things. But in the Jewish religion, which I found out from a lovely woman I know who is Orthodox, they believe in a silver cord. And in a lot of metaphysical beliefs, if you start reading about them, they believe in silver cords that connect us, right? Well, they believe in a silver cord that connects us to God, to heaven. And when we die, this cord is broken and we go back to, they don't believe in heaven, but back to God. But there are energetic connections that we make and have with other people in all types of relationships. And the stronger the connection with people are, the closer your connection and relationship with people, the larger the cord is, right? And oftentimes very toxic relations have very heavy, thick cords. And the energy exchange continues to happen even when you have cut off ties with them. Think about it where you hold on to anger about that person, right? You've ended a relationship, whether it's romantic or friendship or work relationship, right? Because some of those are pretty toxic. And you still find anger, or it's not the opposite of love isn't hate. It's why can't I think of the word? Because I should be in my left or in my right brain, and I'm trying to go to left brain. Help me out, y'all. Okay. So it's just not really caring, not that having that connection to it. And there's a lot of people who I just read about Headspace, reading about somebody today. Indifference. Thank you, Raska. You would help me out. So the opposite of love is indifference, right? And so you think about that energetically. When you're connected to people, you want to be indifferent about it. You don't want to have anger that you still hold on to. Okay, sorry. So you, I'm going to do some meditations and help y'all. I don't know why like the last few times I've looked at Deepak, I'm like, oh, I don't know about him, but he teaches lovely things to lovely people, I suppose. So you have these cords, right? And first of all, if they're coming up, if those types of relationships are coming up with other people, it's not necessarily because you haven't healed another cord, as you haven't learned the lesson or changed the belief system in order to stop having those interactions, right? You still have to learn that lesson, and it will come up in different people throughout your lifetime, this lifetime, other lifetimes, concurrent lifetimes, whatever you want to believe. Okay, so these cords can be really heavy and really deep. So for me, when I've cut my own cords, because I've never gone to somebody to do stuff, because I truly, truly believe most things we can do on our own. It's harder, but it can be done. And sometimes you have to do it several times. So I do a visualization process where I see this cord between me and that other person. The best way to heal a situation is with love. So you close your eyes, you take a nice deep breath, you visualize the cord, you visualize the other person on the other end of it, and you start sending loving energy. Doesn't mean you have to love that person, but the reality is we all have a spark of God in us, right? We all are interconnected. And so when you send negativity out to other people, you're actually sending it back to yourself. If we're all a part of a whole, right? Without all of this, we're all a part of a whole. And if you start sending it in, you're a part of that piece. So you're sending toxicity in. So what you want to do is send love in first. This is also how I help clear energies and help energies cross over, is you start filling them with love, right? So you send however you picture loving energy be. To me, it's warm, it's calming, it's I like pink and purple light, everything wonderful. You can send pure white light because that encompasses all of the colors. And you start sending healing too. So that's green light, right? Just visualize it. It's a lot of visualization. And so you start sending that healing energy that way, because if you picture the cord, you want to picture that cord connecting. I don't have anything I'll use a pen and 2 stones, right? Let me see if I can get this to work. I don't have any props. Okay. So, right. Let's see. My hands aren't quite big enough. Go ahead, laugh with me. Okay, so you and another person, and the cord's in between you, right? So you want to heal this area and this section. It'll make it easier to remove, right? And you start healing it, and you start sending energy, green light. Green is for healing. Green is Archangel Raphael. And I asked the archangels to help me, right? So it's all of that. Archangel Gabriel's for communication, because you want that person to open to receive the communication, and you need to be open to receive and send communication, right? So they need to help with that. So that you're sending all of this light and this love. And Archangel Chamuel is the Archangel of love. So he's sending light, green light, healing light. You want to send white. White's also healing. And you send all of this in that direction. And you ask for all energy that, and this is for yourself, for your highest good, to release this connection to this person with love and with forgiveness and kindness, that it be done for the highest good of you and this other person, because it should always be done as a reciprocating thing, right? There has to be balance. It's not like, you know, when you hear things of something going from, well, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to do the exact opposite. Well, it becomes a pendulum and it swings this way, and it's not exact opposite, doesn't make healthy. So you want to do it for balance, for healing, for clarity. So ask if there is anything I haven't learned or haven't received that I need from this relationship. I let me receive it now and download it now, so that I may release this energy and release this person into the universe, and all of this energy back into the universe for transmutation. And you visualize that this is you can either do it one way. So I usually, because I have this medical background, I always see things as removing and removing and removing, like almost surgically removing from the thing. And there being like maybe even like a pit in your stomach, right? So it may be really rather large, it may be small. And you're going to infuse that then with love and healing and light. And cap off that energy, by the way, for the other person. So that way, you can imagine it stretching out like taffy and breaking in the middle, right? So as you're healing it, it just becomes weaker and weaker and can stretch and break like taffy or silly putty or whatever you want to say. and make sure that it's sealed off for them too, right? So you want to seal it off for them and just visualize it, just sealing off with white light and healing, and send them off on their journey with love and light. And you imagine sealing it. So I always fill it with green light as like medication. And then I pack it with like a white light. So like think of that as like gauze or something. That's how I do it, and heal it, and know that that healing will occur over time naturally. And I don't worry about that it happens. I just trust it. A lot of healing and metaphysical work is about faith and believing in something before it happens. So that's what I do. And if it keeps coming up again, that's okay. It'll be less and less strong the next time you do it. You just keep doing it's repetition. When you're doing wound care on something, you don't just put the patch on it and it's better in a second. It takes time for it to fill in, and you have to change the dressings, and you have to reapply medication, and you have to do that. So sometimes you have to do that energetically for your body as you have those connections. So just trust that just because it didn't all of a sudden get better at once, well, sometimes it just takes a little bit more. The stronger the connection, oftentimes the more times you have to do it. But just trust it. It doesn't mean that you didn't do it right, or you're too weak, or you're not strong enough. You are all very strong beings, right? So we all come from the same place. So if you think that you're too weak or you're not strong enough, it's a belief system you were taught, so that you have to depend on others. The depending on others and the connections with others shouldn't be about dependence and codependence. It should be about just enjoying somebody's energy and being around them. Yeah, I try to you're welcome, Rothka. I try to put things in ways that make sense to people, or at least that, I don't know, analogies that work for me. Um, okay, so music for meditation, which said, how can one become better at meditation? I feel like I'm not as good at it and have a hard time clearing my mind. Everybody does, right? Like think about all of the input we get on a daily basis, our phone, whatever, everything is constant. Even just like you have a quiet room, there's going to be noise outside, whatever. So one thing I was taught, and I think it's really great, is you learn to incorporate the noise into your meditation. And just so I really got better at meditation through my classes, through holistic studies in the city. And a lot of those old buildings have the water radiated heat through the buildings, and they make noise and they pop and they bang, or you'd hear noise from the street down below. And you just start to incorporate it, where you go, oh, okay. You acknowledge it. Okay, that's nice. And you keep going back. Okay, this must be a part and must be adding to it somehow. There must be a reason I needed to focus on that or pay attention to it. But not go off and go, okay, that'll come to me why I needed to, or it'll make sense at a point. I don't need to worry about it right now. And you keep moving with what you were doing. I think what happens is, if you think you need total silence, and being clear is like just being in an empty room with a void, right? A negative void, then you create a stress around it. And that's not what it should be. It should be very relaxed, very calming, and very, think of it as a type B personality. You just go with the flow, right? So you hear a noise or you get distracted, you go, there must be a reason I needed to think about that for that moment, and it'll come to me when I need it to. So acknowledge it and trust that it'll come back to you. It's like when my kids say, Mom, if I don't get it out now, I'll forget. And I always say, it'll come to you if it needs to, right? Or I forgot what I was going to tell you. I'm like, it'll come back when it needs to. And literally within 15 seconds, they remember, and they're back on track with needing to ask me what they need. So I just have that belief system, right? So you create a belief system around meditation, right? So if noises come in, it's okay. It's fine. No big deal. And the reason for them will make itself known at another time. Also, guided meditations are extremely helpful, because meditation isn't about being blank, right? And when people say mindful meditation, I want to smack them in the head, because meditation is mindfulness. So it's just being fully present in the moment. You can do a meditation while you're eating. So while you're eating your food, pay attention to how the mouth, like put your phone away, pay attention to how the food feels in your mouth. Pay attention to how the crunch, the smells, the sound of everything, the way the fork feels, the weight of the fork, the weight, what it sounds like hitting a plate. Just being fully present, that is meditation. It doesn't mean you have to do it a specific way or have this idea of being a yogi on a mountain. Most of us can't go to a mountain and meditate 8 hours a day. Music for the Vibe said, did you always know you'd be a healer of some sorts? Remember you saying you worked as a travel nurse before? Yeah. Yeah. When I was a little girl, I wanted to be a doctor, and I was just always a helper. I always liked to help. And I remember being very little when little other children smaller than me would cry or whatever. And I just knew what they needed. And I thought, how do these parents not know? Like, that's so crazy. I've always been sort of like a helper type person. And I always knew that. Like, I always wanted to help people. Rosewater says, interesting, the person on the other person can feel the change in the energy when you cord cut, whether they recognize it or not. Yes, that's exactly it. When you're doing cord cutting, people can feel the energy of that, whether they know it or not. They may not understand it, and they may feel the warmth and the calm of it if you do it in the right way. If you just cut and move and run along and don't consider that other person, then they're going to feel the negative effects of that too. Also think about that. That comes back to you. When you do things without thinking of the other person that's in the connection, you bring that energy back to you, and you have to learn that lesson again. So there's a whole like process around it, right? And that's really, I'm not perfect about doing that myself, right? So I'm human. I'm in the human experience. I don't always do that, but this is, I know the way to do it, and the best way to do it, and the way it works, the healthiest way it works is through the balance of it. And then you said the last time you released a cord using the process you just mentioned, the person on the other end freaked out and began talking to me nonstop as a way to try to build that connection again. Right. But how did you do it? Right. So did you do it with the energy and the love, sending them with the love, healing the whole situation for everybody's highest good, and being completely done with it? Then you can also build a wall around you. So I've built walls around myself where I knew I had got the cord from somebody, but I needed to build like a wall. It was another person who's psychic around me, so that they couldn't continue to peer into my life. And so I just was like an energy field I visualized around me and set, this is up forever. This is up for good. They're no longer allowed in. They ended up unfriending me on Facebook. I thought it was really funny a few weeks ago, like a few months later, but it was fine. Like, I didn't, because I no longer needed that relationship. Whatever I needed from it had healed and been done. And it is funny how things work when they, they don't know. But here's the other thing is, you can also be a negative source, a knowing negative source of energy for other people, right? So when you have a cord connection to somebody and they're having a bad day, or they're feeling down about themselves, they may start having a lot of negative self-talk. And then in your head around that same time, you may start being angry at that person and not know why. So it may not be that physical bad things happen to them. It may be that you're emotionally or intuitively sending them negative energy without realizing it, and becoming an unknown source. So when you start to get negative about somebody and you don't really understand why, instead of sending them the angry thoughts, just stop yourself and say, whatever I need to do right now, I need to do this with love, and send them love, because they need that right now. Because then you also have to think about that. It becomes like a huge domino effect. You're sending them negative energy, right? You're putting out negative into the world. Now you're going to draw more negative into you. So if you just send out love, you sort of stop that faucet from leaking. Kansas Girl says the concept of walk-in, a soul read. Yeah, valid. It's been written about, but you're skeptical. So it does happen. I don't know how often, but I do believe it happens. There are some that are ready to go, and they've learned their lesson, at least in this lifetime, and but their body is still in great shape, whatever, and another one can step in. I sometimes think that I've seen it where they really kind of like are more concurrent. So it's almost like, where I've seen it, it's almost like 2 in 1. So it's not like they're possessed like Hollywood does it, but it's just like that the person had that feeling of like not quite fitting anymore. But yeah, I do believe it can happen. I don't think it's as common as everybody makes it out to be. especially when they write about it. I think it's more just fascinating and they've seen the experience, but I don't think it's that common. At least that's not my experience. And there's a lot of stuff that I was skeptical about until stuff happened to me. And I'm like, holy crap, maybe not. Yeah, the negative energy thing, I kind of discovered that. I've discovered a lot through my poor husband and I, our relationship. Not poor, but like just understanding how the energetic connections happen. And being with someone for so long, you start to see it differently when it's, with somebody that you really care about and you want to have a really healthy relationship, and you're starting to break some of your old negative toxic belief systems that you were raised with, right? So you start to see how energy affects yourself and others and how it pushes around, and you sort of start to look at life a little differently and how you can do things better to make it better for everybody on a whole. It starts with you, and it kind of and it flows outwards. I saw a really beautiful meme today. It's like super simple caricature thing where it says how you bring light, how you spread light to others, right? So you're the little lighted up person, and the crowd of dark people are over here, and you kind of stand there and you start to sort of like slowly push your energy. It's like becomes contagious, right? Just like a cold, and it just sort of starts to spread. But I sort of think you have to understand your energy to it. It's like with also people who are on the spectrum. I really believe that people who are on the autistic spectrum are incredibly sensitive energetically, that they feel other people's stuff. And so many people just don't even understand how their energy works and how it really does affect others, and how you push it out, and how even if you seem calm on the outside, whatever's on the inside, they can feel all of that. And so it becomes overwhelming. I did a reading for a woman whose son was autistic, and she said he's never looked at anybody in the eye that long. And I said, because I understand my energy and I know how to calm it so that it feels safe for him to be around me. And that's the hugest part of it, is that people just, if you start to learn your energy and understand it and understand how it affects others, and that, what you're putting off really does get absorbed by others and everything else unknowingly. Kansas Girl says, I believe people on the spectrum have incredible gifts to share, and wonder if they're coming into this crazy world to lift the energy. Absolutely. I absolutely believe it. And so when we have this old belief system that we're supposed to change them, or trying to make them normal, it breaks my heart, because I think there's so much to be learned from them. We need to develop the communication system to understand them and to hear them rather than the other way around. Crystal says, my son is autistic and I 100% can relate to this. I really believe it. I saw it with patients. I saw it in so many different situations, and they really are. I know that they're feeling my energy, and I wish that more people would quit putting all of this stuff into like the hoodoo, voodoo, whatever world, and really understand that. Think about it on a basic, when they talk about physics, quantum physics, but when they talk about just physics on a basic level, everything is made up of energy. Everything is made up of atoms and electrons, and even inanimate objects or inorganic objects too. So music for the vibe is, what are things that can be done to become more receptive to receiving guidance and messages? The same thing I was talking about with connecting and with your guides, right? So the first thing is to set the intention, right? You can do meditation. When you get something, even if you think, oh, instead of going, oh, that was just, you hear a noise, or you think you hear your name. Oh, I must have just been hearing things. Yes, you are hearing things, and you're not crazy. So get away from the, oh, I'm crazy, or I'm really tired. Quit giving it excuses and just acknowledge it. That's the hugest first step to trusting your intuition, right? So if you get things, if you feel things in your gut, right? So it's like, or a thought might come in like, I should bring this, or I should pack this. If you don't, and then something happens and you're like, oh, I really should have packed that. Like sometimes I love this one. They would say, make sure you bring an extra diaper because she's going to have a blowout for one of my kids. So I would, and I'd be so grateful. Like, because then that would happen, right? But if I didn't, I was like, oh, I should have listened. So next time when this happens, I'm going to listen. So it's starting to set the intentions, and also I'm going to open up, right? Your mind is a very powerful thing. If you believe you can't do something, you will never, ever, ever, ever do it. And you can go on the internet and find a million people who have stated this. And it's the truth. Our mind sets the pace. If you spill a cup of coffee and you believe, this is actually how I learned about the law of attraction. It wasn't by finding it on a book. I was going to work. It was about 6:15 in the morning. I was heading in for my shift, and I thought, I'm going to see if I can have a bad day today. Who would do that? But I sort of do things in a weird way, because that's just the way I am. And so I spilled my cup of coffee, and I just started really putting myself in a negative mindset, and I had a horrible day. Like, I set it up by my own negative thinking and my own negative mindset. You can do the same with opening up for intuition, right? So I am fully connected. I hear and receive messages with ease. And you just kind of say those things over and over. I am fully connected to my guides. My guides easily can communicate with me. I'm fully connected to spirit. Spirit can easily communicate with me. Only those with the highest love and light can come through easily with me. So if you're afraid of something negative, if I feel anything negative, I'm like, see ya, peace out. I don't need to connect with you, or I clearly need to help heal you. And that's sort of the other route I take. But that took a long time for me to get there, and a lot of comfort with my own abilities and gifts, and sort of really trusting that I'm fully protected. So I would say acknowledgement, setting the mindset. I am fully connected. Even if you aren't right now, you will be, but you have to change that belief system. I can easily hear. I can easily see. I can easily feel. And I instantly know what it means. I instantly understand the message I'm getting. I do believe we all have the gift. I do believe we are all intuitive at the core, right? So I've used this message before, that I say everybody can hold a ball. Even a quadriplegic can have a ball sitting in their lap. Those are the most shut down spiritually people, but they still can hold a ball, right? And then everybody's abilities to become basketball players are different, right? So some people can dribble, some people can shoot, some people can run and dribble. Listen, that's a skill. And then there's people who are naturally gifted, like myself, just always kind of very open. But even those professional basketball players, they practice and they work their butts off for it. They have a lot of natural talent, but if they don't work for it, they're never going to get to that professional level. So that's what I do. I practice, I acknowledge, I open up. And even doing these readings on YouTube has like crazy opened up my abilities for in-person readings, and just being around people. Like, I've noticed it's really stretched it's been a lot of practice and really stretched my abilities. Okay, Rothka says, here's something I've wondered. You can tell something with lower energy to go away or not connect with you, but just like some people are boundary pushers, could that not happen with astrals too? Yes, it can happen. And some of them are, I call them toddlers, right? So like a toddler, they just don't want to go away and they're going to keep persisting, and I keep persisting back, right? So you can tell I just totally bombed my thing. Oh, Rosewater, thank you. She said, don't forget to like and subscribe. Yeah, dudes, like and subscribe. Why not? Because I want to create a community where there's, open, comfortable place where you can talk and ask, because you can read a book all day, but it's always nice to have a discussion. So if you think of astral bodies, spirits, or little negative energy beings, what do they feed off of? We feed off of energy too, right? So our energy comes from solid, from fruits, vegetables, animals, things like seeds, nuts, berries, whatever. That's where all of our energy comes from. It's all energy, right? So we think it's normal because that's our normal energy. Well, their normal energy is negative emotion, right? So it's fear, depression, hatred, whatever. So if they can elicit fear from you, they're going to get their meal. They're hungry. They want to eat. So they're going to keep pestering you. If they know that depression, you're that, they're going to keep feeding off of that. And as they feed off of it, it sort of like creates more, right? It just sets you in a lower and sets your energy lower and lower because it's removing your energy, right? So it's depleting your energy and making you lower and lower and lower and lower. Instead of being a positive vibration, it's lowering your vibration. So it's like you become a constant food source. But If you notice this energy and you're like, no, not today. That's nice. I'm not afraid of you. I can overpower you. Now sometimes they're going to keep pestering you, right? They're like, there's these little ones with these little red beady eyes, and they're like toddlers. They just want what they want, and they're going to get it now. And they're not going to, logic runs out the door, everything else. So you just keep saying, no, be on your way. I love you so much. Be on your way. You don't love them, but you send them love. Send them love, fill them with love, and ask your angels and their guides to help pull them away, and they will. But you have to take control of things, and it's your space, and this is your plane of existence. It's your house. Yeah, and just being like, go away. Sometimes they're a little more annoying. Music for the vibes is a bit off topic, but do you believe in the concept of high vibrational, low vibrational music? Really enjoy music, but sometimes yeah, absolutely. Right. So it's also the energy that somebody puts into it when they're writing it. If they're in a depressed state, or they're healing from a heartbreak, right? And they're like talking with all these negative things, then yeah, it is going to drop you down lower. And there's a lot of music where I'm like, oh, I can't listen to that right now. Like, it's just not there. And some of it is like empowering and whatever. And it's somebody's energy they're putting into it, right? And so whatever state they were at that time. So absolutely, I totally 1,000% believe in that. I also believe in it when you go into an art museum, right? And you look at different art pieces. I can feel what that artist felt like. You drink a glass of wine, right? So I learned this, and I thought this was fantastic. And I don't drink. This was a while ago. And I thought, let me let me really connect in with these grapes and see. And I could see, I didn't know it was an oak barrel. Like I don't know anything about wine. I know a couple wines that I like if I would like to have wine, but it's like very rare. But I could see in my head, I could visualize the oak barrel and just how burned the outside of it was to give it a certain smokiness. I could see that there was lavender growing and like all these different things growing around. And of course I asked the sommelier and he like looked at me like I was crazy. I had no clue, but I literally could see everything that went into it and was grown around it, and clover and everything else around these grapes that kind of like aided to it. So anything is going to have that energy and be either high vibrational, low vibrational, or somewhere in the middle. And it's also going to feel different depending on where you're out vibrationally. This is fun. I hope you guys enjoy this. I'll probably just do a few more minutes. So, because I have to go do more kids stuff and I still haven't eaten. So I'm pretty hungry. So we can do this again. I enjoy it. I hope you guys do too. If you do like it, subscribe and all that stuff. Thank you. Oh, I got a really cool validation this morning. I woke up to a really nice email from one of my regulars on here. And she said that she was like, I just want to let you know I'm validating again. You were right about something else. She'd asked what was coming up in the next year. I can't remember when she was that she asked this. And she said that had seen a dog that looked like an Australian shepherd, and it was a very sweet face. And she said it's not her dog that she got, but that her friend's son is getting deployed. And so he's going to be taking the dog, and that she's going to be spending time with the dog too. And they're going to go out to dog parks and stuff. So sometimes things come through. It doesn't mean it's going to be your dog that you get, but somehow or your child. Sometimes I will say, like, I see a baby coming in, and it may just be, there's always different connections. So it's really kind of cool how the stuff comes through. And anytime you guys if I give you a reading and there's something that happens that validates, I always love to hear about that. So you can always email me at Annalisa, my spiritual friend. And I love to hear about it. So I like the feedback. Oh, Rosewater says, validation for me. You were right about my work life getting busier end of October going into November. Good. I feel like it's a good busy though, right? It'll slow down. It's okay. Like, I mean, it'll not like slow down, but it'll find its balance. And music for the vibe says, you told me about my stagnation and I'm trying to get out of that energy. You can. Don't say I'm trying. I am out of it. I'm no longer in it, right? So because we can create what we want, right? Negative and positive. So you're out of it. You're done. You're moving through it. That's how law of attraction works. And you just trust it. Don't sit and wonder, did it work? Did it work? Did it work? It'll make itself known. And I always say sooner than later. You're welcome. You're out of it. Yes, you're out of it. So that's the one thing I hear people, and they'll say something, I was like, oh, just change these 2 words, and that'll really help me move through that energy. Because sometimes it's just our language is stopping us, right? Our inner language is stopping us. Hi, Shannon. From growth, from our own movement. And that's the other thing you can do with your guides, right? So just ask them for validation, ask them to show you. Like if you think you heard something and you're connecting in from your guides or spirit, I think I heard that. Can you give me validation? It may not happen right away, but it will happen. No, I'll stay out for a few more minutes. You're a little bit late, Shannon, but you can come on and you can re-listen to it. There's a lot of nice, I think some helpful tips. I tend to ramble a little bit, but I always hope it goes somewhere. I think I would like to try to do these on Fridays. Does this feel like a good time for everybody? I don't want to do evenings because I feel like it takes away from my family time. My husband works all day, and I kind of like to spend a little bit of time with him. So it's finding balance. So I do my Sunday night readings. It works for Rose. Rose, it works for you. Good. We're good. I tried to pick lunchtime because I thought maybe some people can do it during lunch. Okay, good. I really like doing this. So, but Shannon, please join us, like and subscribe. And then if you hit the bell whenever I go live, I do try to put on an early warning that I'll be going live at this time. I just didn't get to today because I'm a co-leader for a Daisy troop. And I was trying to get the project done for Daisy's meeting tonight or this afternoon. Oh my God, it's 1:30 in the morning and you're on with me, Crystal. God bless you. I'd be so asleep. Well, maybe I can do it another time for you so it's earlier. Oh, thank you for your support. That's amazing. You have no idea when you guys come on here and you're a part of this. I really I love that you want to like and subscribe. I love that anybody's just here and wanting to be a part of it. Thank you. You go out for a few drinks first. Just kidding. Oh, it is Friday night there, right? Yeah. I don't know. I just thought this is a great way to because I do think there's a lot of really wonderful people on here that are just looking for a spiritual connection with other people. Do a vote on meditation based on some of these discussions. Absolutely. I do think it's going to be, I already think it's a wonderful community. I've really and truly so blessed. Honestly, I really am so grateful. And I love you guys too. I probably would not, I don't know if I'd recognize you on the street. I might be like, that energy feels familiar. I don't know how I know you. Okay, so if you guys want to ask maybe 1 or 2 more quick questions, and then I'm going to go so I can eat some lunch and probably get some more stuff together for this troop meeting tonight. So I'm a little more together. You would, I hope you would know me. I'll be like the crazy lunatic with 3 kids walking around. Oh, thanks. Don't make me cry. I love old ladies. So Rose, listen to me. My first job ever was in a nursing home. I worked in the kitchen. And I would, put trays together, or I'd bring trays up to some of the Alzheimer's unit. And I've always loved old people. I was fascinated about learning about, I would always ask when a 16-year-old kid about their love stories and their life and what did they love the most? Or I'd ask about their tattoos that they had, or one lady had Alzheimer's. I just specifically remember her. She was so out there. And the nurses, I would take her and I'd have her come around with me while I was cleaning up the dining room, and she'd walk with me, and we'd play the piano one day. She'd push on the keys, and then she went up to my stomach and she went she never really acknowledged anybody, and she just was around me and enjoyed that. And I don't know. I think people have a lot to share. You just have to listen. 66 is not old. It's not old. I probably am an old soul. There's a lot of us, though. Uh, how do I stay so positive? I don't know. I sort of always been this way. Like, I just have always trusted that, like, everything works out, everything finds its way. And, things can be really, really terrible. And there's always a gift in it. And there's always something in it. And I mean, I have my bad days and I have my moments, but I don't know. I've always been a kind of person that just pulls yourself up by the bootstraps and you keep going and you find a way to make everything work. It might also be the way I was raised. I did a lot on my own and, um, I don't know. It's just how it happens. Everybody can get to that place. It's just, you just change your perspective, right? So you just say, like, if you're having a fight with somebody, just trust that it'll all work out. So it doesn't mean that it doesn't always mean I'm going to, be friends with them forever, or I'm going to be close with them forever. It just means it's all going to work out for everybody's best good, highest good. And you learn to trust that. What did Kansas girl say? That's clever. I said that to you. So I'll say I wasn't old. Oh. Oh, I love that. Kansas girl, you're funny. Positive thoughts do give positive outcomes. It's the truth. It doesn't mean that my life has been easy. It doesn't mean that, it's been hard. When I tell people, they're like, oh my God, how do you turn out that? I don't know. I don't know how one person turns out one way or another, but I know that we as souls are very resilient. And if you're here, you're not here for the first time. You're back again. You've been around the corner. So I also trust that at the end of the day, like, this isn't the end. And I know that I'll survive anything, right? I'll get through it. I don't know why it's natural for me. Again, I guess really it's probably rooted in how I was raised or not raised. And I did a lot on my own, and a lot of that also, it was circumstantial. My mom had to work. My parents were divorced when I was really little. My mom had to work. And so I was a latchkey kid. I'd wake up in the morning and I had my sisters and I would get ready for school. We'd get ourselves to school. We'd make our lunch. I'd come home. I'd do my homework. I put myself to bed. I had a bedtime, not because anybody said I had to do it. It was because what I thought was logical to set for a bedtime. And my mom would come home late after I'd go to bed a lot of times. So you just learn. And I remember hearing my guides say, you don't have to be the way they expect you to be, the way the other parents expected somebody like me to turn out. So I'm really grateful for that. Crystal said negative means bad endings are setting for the lesser option. I don't know. It doesn't necessarily mean bad endings. It just means sitting in that own energy, right? So you could say, woe is me, that person broke up with me. I'm terrible, horrible, everything's bad. Nothing ever goes right for me. It doesn't mean it's a bad ending. It just means that's your perception of it. Everything is truly perception. Listen, there were times I prayed for certain guys that I wish this would all work out. And literally one time I heard really loud in my face, this isn't going to work out. And I was like, oh, Jesus. The reality is I'm grateful that those ones didn't work out. And not because I wouldn't have my daughters if I wasn't with this person. With my husband, I believe these souls as my children would come to me no matter who I married. But just because the trials and tribulations I would have been through with some of them. Yeah, that's where you will stay in negative territory. Yeah, you stay in that negative energy. But I don't think look, you can learn something in even the worst situation, right? It doesn't mean you wouldn't want it to be another way. It just means finding the lesson in it. Sometimes you feel that there are only gifts. Yeah. You're already there. Yeah, you are learning. It's not that I have a lot. You are learning. Look, when I graduated from nursing school, I wanted to be the 20-year vet day one out, and you can't, right? You need to acquire skills and build them in a certain way. And that's just how life is, right? It unfolds exactly the way it's supposed to when it does. And you'll get there when you're supposed to. And maybe you need the time in order to learn something else along the way that plugs in later, right? So when I first got out of my psychic classes and I was like really kind of getting more comfortable in my gifts, I thought, why are all these people who I graduated with building these businesses and having a lot of clients, and I'm like here stagnated, thinking that, convinced, and I'm pretty sure they were, people were taking my cards off the grocery store. What do you call them? Corkboard things. Because, a lot of people look at what I do as the devil or all those terrible things. I needed that time. I needed time to be with my kids. There was some huge emotional chunks that I needed to heal so that I can do better readings, so they're meatier and juicier and help people in a totally different and better way. They're not so surface. Right. You have to trust the process. It's all about trusting. That's what faith is. When they talk about it in religion, like you just have to have faith. I didn't develop my faith until I walked away from religion. And sort of just being like, it'll all work out. It's all lovely. Everything works out. All right, lovelies. I'm going to go. I need food and just a tiny bit of rest and more stuff to do today. So check me out. Oh, tomorrow I'm on my radio show. So check that out tomorrow. I'm being interviewed on Jupiter Rising. I'll connect it to this after we get done. I'm going to be on that, being interviewed by Eileen Grimes and Douglas Johnston. And I'm probably going to do some live readings. I don't know. She had me do that last time. So I really hope you guys can listen. It's 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be back on Sunday night for live readings here, our regular weekly ones at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can email me, so check out my website. There's all that connection stuff on there, myspiritualfriend.com. Instagram, My Spiritual Friend. I'm here. Please subscribe. Please like. I always enjoy your time. Thank you so much. And you guys have a wonderful weekend. See you soon. I hope you guys can go to sleep, Crystal.